Hey, hey. So, this is the first review I'm going to do in kind of a double header tonight. It's been kind of a weird 24 hours for me. Just got back into Tennessee last night. I had new teacher orientation today. I have it again tomorrow. And so my brain, I got a show, I got a plan, I got orientation for the education program I have to do to get my job. So my brain is just kind of all over the place. And so what was the thing I thought I needed to do? I love doing these because they let me relax a little bit. So I decided to do a doubleheader of some of these movies that I wasn't sure if I was going to see tonight or at all, and do some of these reviews to kind of clear my head. So this is the first one. So this isn't necessarily a drive home review, as it is just kind of a drive around review. I've got an hour before the next film. So I just got out of Ghostbusters, and I said I wasn't going to see this one, I think, back in the Batman v Superman review, and I wasn't planning on it. But it was another one of those movies where the response to it prior to its release, and then the reaction to it after its release were so polar opposites. I kind of feel like I had to see it, just kind of like I did with Batman v Superman, kind of make my own decision. The press going into it before it was released was almost overwhelmingly negative, and I'm going to admit that I was part of that. I don't have a great love for reboots or reimaginings in general. I often think that they're just an excuse to cash in on a popular title. You're really not adding anything. You're just recycling what people already know in an attempt to make a quick buck. And 9 times out of 10, you get people who don't have any affection for the original, any real desire to say anything. They're just there to get the paycheck. And what you normally get are some really substandard films. That being said, I have to say, coming out of this one, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I've never been one of those people. I liked Ghostbusters as a movie, but I've never been one of those people that holds it up as one of these all-time great classics. It's never been a film that I felt was untouchable. To such a point, a lot of people hate Ghostbusters 2. I really like Ghostbusters 2. So, or rather, I don't have any real problems with Ghostbusters 2. So, I never really had any problem with it just on the surface. It was just kind of a thing of, I felt it was a film in its time that should have been left in its time, and all that. But this movie was actually pretty good. Now, what I will say is that it took a long time for me to get into it. The first, I'd say maybe half an hour was just kind of very ho-hum, very, nothing really spectacular. But as it built up and as it, got some momentum behind it, I kind of surprisingly realized just how much fun I was having with the film. I think the four actors, and I apologize, the only one whose name I know is Melissa McCartney. So sorry about that. I think the four actors do an amazing job and create four really fun new characters that have a new take on it. There's not a whole lot to say about it plot-wise or anything like that. It's a Ghostbusters movie. You kind of know what the plot is going to be. But I want to praise the movie for a couple things. Number one, as I said, the four actors do an amazing job. I think the actress who plays Patty, and it just went all dark in here, can't get any light, who, again, I can't remember her name, she was hysterical. I liked her a lot. I thought the other ladies were trying a little too hard in certain areas of the film, like really trying to be funny. I felt like she just was. She was funny. That's not to say I didn't laugh at anything the other four ladies did. I just felt they were really trying a bit too much. But still, they all worked well together. They seemed to have really good chemistry. They seem to enjoy doing the film, so that comes through when you watch a movie. I also think a special kind of, hey, that was kind of surprising, has to go to Chris Hemsworth as their what Jerry Seinfeld would call a male bimbo receptionist. He was incredibly funny. From a guy who we're all kind of used to seeing as Thor, the very serious Avenger, I mean, he really has some good comic timing and really can play up that stupid. I don't know what my dialogue's failing me. I guess that male bimbo is the best I can come up with. He really played it well. Not over the. I think that's another thing. Nobody was really over the top in this. I mean, comedy today, and one of the things I was a little afraid of in going into this is that comedy today is very in your face. It's laugh, damn you, laugh. And what I liked in the original Ghostbusters were all the parts that Bill Murray was not in. I find the parts with Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson very funny because they're so deadpan and so serious and not really, shoving it in your face that this is a comedy. And I was really worried that this retelling in a less subtle time was going to, going to be a lot of that. Going to be a lot of the Bill Murray stuff, which I hate. But it wasn't. It was a little bit more overt than the older one, but not terribly. Nothing that made me turn off. So yeah, the four actresses, with Patty kind of being the standout to me, I thought they all did a great job. I also really liked this, and this is something I picked up on. Normally when you have a movie starring or featuring any kind of minority, and yes, I'm going to say that in this analogy, women are a minority, so I apologize if that sounds patronizing. But normally when you have a movie starring any kind of minority, the film goes out of its way to give you some kind of line or some character or something that's like, you can't do these things, you're a girl, or you can't do these things, you're black, or you can't do these things, you're a homosexual, and you have to have the main character really, get up on their soapbox and give some kind of speech, and or we're going to show all these people up and prove them wrong. And this movie did not do that, to its credit. This movie the fact that it was 4 women was never made an issue in this movie. It was not like the driving point of the film. It treated them like 4 people. And I really love that. There was one joke, and it was more of a throwaway line by the villain. When they run up at the end for the big brawl, and he says, "Women getting everywhere late." That was the only line that could be seen as, falling into that trap. But for the rest of it, they totally avoided that, and I love that. I love that they didn't make an issue out of it. Everybody else, the publicity, the trolls on the internet, they made a big deal out of it. The movie didn't. The movie was like, no, it's just about 4 people. And I think that made it work much better, in my opinion. It wasn't all perfect, and I'm not saying it was a perfect movie. Is it better than the original? I don't think so, but I think it adds something to the Ghostbusters mythology. I didn't like the CGI ghosts. I really didn't. And anybody who knows me knows I'm not a huge proponent of CGI, and have a feeling that in the next review I do here in about 30 minutes, that's going to come up more. I've never been a fan of the CGI ghosts. I much preferred the puppet, practical kind of effects that the original films did. So in that respect, I don't think this one was very good. The CGI is kind of crap. It just doesn't look good. Again, the plot, there's really not much to talk about. It's a Ghostbusters movie, so it follows that formula. They investigate something. Nobody believes them. They're written off as frauds. So nothing really great, and I think if this film is lucky and gets a sequel, which I'm going to say I think it should. I think these characters are cool enough and the actors are fun enough in their roles that I'd like to see them come back. I'd like to see a little bit stronger story. I think that's been the downfall of the Ghostbusters films in general, is that all three of them kind of have the same basic plot. Little things changed here and there, but nothing really to write home about. I think that's the film's big weakness, is it has no real story. And I know you're saying, it's a Ghostbusters film, how much story do you need? Well, I think when you've had now 3 of these movies, and they all have the same plot, I think the story does become important. I think you do need that. So I hope that they get a sequel, and I hope that it does something different. Really all this film did different from the original was cast it with women. That was the big difference. Other than that, there's not a lot of different. I think that's its ultimate failing, is that there's not a lot new here. It's new for kind of films in general, but for Ghostbusters films, no. So I'd like to see them stretch a little bit and do a little bit more. So there's that. I also got to say, this goes into spoiler alert warning, so just if you haven't seen this movie, which, I'm seeing it several weeks after its release, so if you're going to see it, I assume you already have. I loved the cameos from the entire cast of the original Ghostbusters. I thought they were awesome. And I do mean the entire cast, because even, I don't know if anybody picked up on this, Harold Ramis, who sadly passed away last year, in the opening, the little mansion that they investigate, there's a bust in the hallway, and it's Harold Ramis. So I thought that was really sweet. And I think all the other cameos were done really, really well, kind of like they did in the old Muppet movies. Unlike the new Muppet movies, in the old Muppet movies, the cameos were done, by famous actors playing bit parts. They weren't like lighting up the screen going, "Hey, look, kids, it's Bob Hope." It was like, no, there's an ice cream. We need to get someone to sell ice cream. Make it Bob Hope. And that's, that was all it was. And they did that with these cameos. They were there, and it was never kind of this big kind of, "Look, kids," except for, 1 or 2 of them. I think, Bill Murray and Sigourney Weaver's were kind of, "Hey, look, it's that person." So, wrapping up, because there's not a lot to say about this one, really. And I'm about to park so I can go in and wait for my next movie to start. I guess the question always for me is, would I buy this on DVD? I might. It would not be a first night release, as I call it. It wouldn't be a film that I run out the minute it comes out to add to the collection. But, if I see it, cheap somewhere, yeah, I'd probably pick it up. I don't know how many times I'd rewatch it. I don't really rewatch the original 2 Ghostbusters films that much. But I gotta say, where this film really comes together, where it really is awesome, is when they get to that, Avengers-style defending New York scene towards the end. That was when I suddenly was like, I'm kind of enjoying this movie. Because before, like I said, it took a while to get into it. I was just kind of like, okay, ho-hum. When it got into that and those ladies were going to town and beating up ghosts, I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. This is a fun film. So, if you haven't seen this, for whatever reason, I mean, if you don't like remakes, you don't like reboots, I understand all that. I dig it. I'm debating whether or not to go see the new Star Trek movie, because I've heard it's really good, but I'm a fan of Star Trek, and I don't think those movies are Star Trek. So if you're avoiding this film because that's how you feel about Ghostbusters, I understand that. I really do. We all have a property or a genre or a series that really means something to us, and changes, even positive changes, don't sit well with us. So I get it. But I'm going to say, if you're looking for kind of a fun time and to see an interesting kind of reimagining, this film delivers. And it can be fun if you let it. And Is it a classic? Is it gonna topple the original? No, it's not either one of those things. But it's a good time, and I think, again, the thing that seals it for me is that the four actors are clearly having fun, and are clearly having fun working with each other. That comes out really strong. And that's what makes the movie enjoyable. Through everything else that's wrong with it, watching the four of those ladies interact made it work, made it fun. And that's what kept me going, and that's why I'm saying I hope they do a second one so that they can play a little bit more, and maybe play a little bit more with some kind of new twist to the whole material, instead of just kind of rehashing the same business startup plot from the first one. So I think that's really all there is to say about Ghostbusters. Better than I ever expected it to be. Not a classic, but still fun. So if you haven't seen it, I'd say check it out. So I got to get inside because my second movie is going to be starting here in about 30 minutes. So we'll see what I think of that one. I don't have very high hopes, so we'll see. So I'm going to see y'all in a little while. So as always, drive safe, and I'll see you at the movies again in a few minutes.